All right, let's see how this works. So now I have both hands free. I can actually see if I can make this work. So the first thing we need to do is loosen up this tensioner bolt on the alternator, get that out of the way, get the belt out of the way. When I got this car, it used to squeak during the winter anyway. So who knows? So I don't know if I'm going to take the alternator all the way out. I don't think I need to. I can just push it back to get everything out, but I do need to get under it. So we'll go ahead and get ourselves a 12. All right, forgot to turn the camera back on. But I use this very unautomotive tool coming in from the radiator side. If you push the alternator all the way to the back and slide this underneath the alternator, you can get right on top of that bracket, and you can kind of wiggle it left and right, not back and forth, but left and right, and it will work the alternator out. I remembered what I did last time. So that's out. I just kind of moved it off to the side. I've got these plugs undone here. So that gets me down to the water pump and the thermostat. So I'll be able to get all that stuff out. All right. I'm going to take a break and we'll get back on this later. All right. I went ahead and took the, oops, turned my light off. Went ahead and took the alternator out. Get that out of the way for a second. So now the alternator is completely out of the way. It will make life a lot easier. All right. So yeah, when they tighten that bolt down, that bad boy is in there stupid tight. You don't even need to take the bolt all the way out because it's crushed in there, but I wouldn't have been able to get it out any other way. So you don't have to take the bolt out, just remember that. All right, well, earlier I came out here and I was doing some work and I totally forgot to bring the camera with me. So far the only thing I've done this morning, this afternoon, whatever day it is, geez, I'm so tired. I completely removed the alternator just so that it was out of my way, and that's all good. But I went ahead and took off the pulley here on the water pump, 410s. It was pretty easy to pop out of there. So next thing is I'm going to go ahead and pull the 3 or 4, I think it's 4 bolts, 410s on the water pump itself and get that up out of the way. And then I will work my way over, it might be a little hard to see, but that pulley right there, right here, that is a replacement. I'm going to go ahead and get a new one. It doesn't seem too bad, but for right now it's going to go ahead and come out, and we'll replace that. I got a new one because if I'm going to do the service I might as well do it correctly. So pulley, pump, belt. I remembered, and I have to look through the boxes because I can't remember which box it ended up in, but I ended up getting a aluminum crank pulley as well. I got it used from one of the people in one of the groups. Regretfully it wasn't in a color I wanted, but it's going to be down there so nobody will really see it. But I don't know if it's going to help or hurt, but it was, I can't remember. And I think I made a decision. I was going to run just a regular line from here all the way back over to there, but as I look at this, it's not really that important, because I thought it was more connected into some other stuff, but since I've removed everything, it isn't. So I am got some silicone high temp caps to put over both of those. I ordered them. When I ordered one, I could get it tomorrow. Since I ordered 2, it won't be here until Tuesday, whatever. So that'll give me some other time just to kind of mess around with some stuff. So once I get this pump off, I will get onto that. I'm having a real hard time. This is my new tripod. It reaches out over the top, and the problem with that is this piece right here is where I put my head to work. So I keep bumping it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm not a videographer. I never took the class in school, and that's why my videos are sort of what they are. So apologize for my bad video, bad editing, crappy music, all that stuff. But let's go ahead and get that pump out of there. So a deep 10 should give you just enough room, probably about a ½ inch or so, to get those bolts out of there. Usually what I like to do is just break them free and then spin them out by hand. If I can get my air tool in there, which I probably can on these, I can just zap them out real quick. So we'll see. Alright, everything was going along awesomely until I thought there were only 4 bolts holding that on, and there's 5. The other one is sort of hidden. You can't really see it, but it is just right down there in the dark. So I have to step away for a second to help the wife. I'll come back and I'm going to pull this side's inner fender or inner engine cover, whatever you want to call this thing down here on the bottom, that big old piece of plastic. It's 2 10s. I'm going to get that out of the way, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and pull this wheel off, because that's going to allow me access to the crank pulley. And apparently I got crazy ordering parts, so I've got I think that's windshield wiper blades, but there's a belt, and there's another belt, and there's the fuel or the water pump. There's the pulley I was talking about. Like I said, it's the wrong color for my car, but it'll work. So when I come back, I will get that put on. All right, so taking off the passenger side engine guard cover, whatever you want to call it, you can definitely get to that bolt there on the crank. That's the one I'm going to be taking off. But the nice thing is you can get to this bottom, the bottom 2 water pump bolts a hell of a lot easier. So I would say that if you're doing a water pump, go ahead and take this side cover off and get that to it from the bottom, instead of trying to reach down from the top where you don't have any room. So I'm going to get that last bolt out of there, and then I do have a trick for getting this pulley nut out of there. I use it all the time on my wife's van, because I've had to replace the freaking main seal on it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times since we've gotten it. And I finally replaced the harmonic balancer, so but it just started leaking again recently, so I'm gonna go ahead and change that here soon. But yeah, it's another side job. So let's get this last bolt off the water pump, and then I can put the new water pump in. We'll get this pulley. Where is it? It's up there somewhere. Oh, it's right there. We'll get that pulley bolt out of there as well, and then we'll get this done, and then we'll start putting this side back together. All right, made quick work of that. These bolts have, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like it's not thread lock. It's gray, semi-mushy. It might be something to keep the bolts from freezing into the aluminum block. I didn't see anything about that online. Not really sure what that is, but I'm gonna clean those up before I put them back in. The other thing I've got to do is pull the axle shaft so I can get these hub bearings out, because I need to get these studs out so I can swap them like I did the rear. But on the front, there's no access to so if you break a stud, you have to take this whole assembly part. Unlike most cars that have a hole someplace, you can drive the studs out so you can replace them. If there's a hole back there, I haven't found it, so that's the other thing I want to do, is switch these over to my ARP studs, because I do find that when I'm on the track, if I don't check them from time to time, they have a tendency to loosen up. So yeah, the stock ones aren't that strong. So and like I said, this car really is just set up for being on the track. It has no other purpose right now. Okay, so water pump is completely loose, so I'm gonna go up on top and give it a little love tap, and we'll get it out of there. All right, let's see which pry bar is the best. I'm just going to go like that, and it's going to dump it on the ground and miss the bucket completely because I forgot to slide the bucket over. Alright. There. Now it's going in. Yeah, it looks like a pump. It's still pretty clean. But like I said, this thing has 80,000 miles on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this anyway. Never hurts to swap out these components when you have a chance. The last thing you want is failure in one of these, whether it's the thermostat or the pump or a pulley. Alright. So old pump. I'm not sure if that's a gasket in there. Some kind. Yep, it's a gasket. Alright, it's going to take both hands to get that gasket off. Alright, so I got that gasket off. It definitely is a one-user. I would not try to reuse that. So we'll just kind of throw that over there for now. Now we've got that. I'm going to go ahead and sop up some of that coolant that's still in the housing there so that when I put the new gasket on, everything's nice and dry. Okay, and these two bolts here on the thermostat housing, they are 12s. So it's kind of a weird angle. You might need a long one and a short one. You might need to come in from the bottom to get this one. I was able to get it from the top, so I just broke it free. I'll get that out of the way. We have our new one. Oh man, that thing's stuck in there too. Let's see. I did disconnect the air conditioner wire just to give myself a little bit extra room, but man, that thing is stuck in there. Okay, I need to figure out how to get that out real quick. Alright, yeah, I got it out. I just had to apply a little pressure with a screwdriver and I was able to pop it right out of there. Might be hard to read. So it says 82C. Don't know what the conversion is at. I don't know. I'd have to do the math. So I don't know which thermostat I ordered. I think I ordered a 160, but I'm not sure. Alright, so the thermostat I bought is this guy here. That's the easiest way to read that. So the 49797 is the part number, and if you look on this wonderful bag that it came in, it says genuine Hyundai parts. And that is a 25500 2B000. I'll open it up. We'll see. I'm sure it's the factory 82. Is that what it says? 82. Yep, 82C. So it's the exact same one. We will dry that up a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and put the new one in, put that housing back on, and we'll do the water pump as well, and finish up on this side. Then we'll start doing the pulleys. And something to note on this particular one, you see this little indentation right next to the burper valve. There is an indentation right there on the block, so you want to line that up, because if you try to put that in any other direction, you're not going to be able to get it in. Or if you do get it in, you'll end up either breaking that plastic thermostat housing, or you'll have a leak that you won't be able to figure out where it's coming from because you cut that rubber. So just make sure that you line everything back up. Okay, let's see if I can get a picture of that. See how it sits in there. Where the hell is it? There it is. Alright, so you can see the notch. Make sure that's all lined up like that, and it should be good to go. If you buy an aftermarket thermostat, it may not have that, so just be aware that the burper valve should be at the top. Alright, I started putting the thermostat housing back on, getting that tightened up. I don't know what the torque specs are. It shouldn't be a whole lot because that's plastic. I'll look that up here in a second, and then I'll tighten it down correctly. But Amazon just dropped off my silicone hose. that I was going to use for the bypass, but I've decided just to plug it, and I think I'm just going to use that silicone hose for my catch can. They also dropped off some lapel mics that I ordered so that the sound will be more consistent, because I've noticed in the videos that as I move away from my phone, it comes in and out. And then I ordered some of the factory style hose clamps, like those, so I can put them back. I want to try to keep the car looking as factory as possible, so if somebody looks under there and they don't see anything that's like bright orange, they won't be like, hey, why is this hose here? So basically just trying to keep it sort of looking factory. Like I said, my JB4 is well hidden. A lot of people used to set it between the battery box and the air box, but I don't have an air box, so I couldn't do that, and I didn't want somebody to be able to open the hood and see it, so I hid it pretty well. So the referee hasn't ever seen it, so that's good enough for me. So next thing I'm going to do, I've got those snug down. They're not tightened yet, but I'm going to snug them down. I'm going to get the water pump out and get that back on, and just to make sure, this gasket only goes on one way. If you have it on upside down, it doesn't line up, so it will only go on one way. And once you get it in place, that's the direction you want to make sure, and then you just get it on those two pins there, and that will hold it in place while you get the pump in place. This is the water pump I bought. All of the parts I bought pretty much came from either Rock Auto or Hyundai Direct, depending on who had them in stock. Now, I ordered these parts over a year and a half ago, so it was during COVID, so things took a while to get here. And then because I was planning my trip to Japan, I didn't do any of the work I did, and then the wife got sick and I had to come home early from the trip. So sometimes life gets in the way of your toys, so I'm gonna just finish getting this put back together. Let's get this pump on. They look fairly the same to me without getting some mics out and checking everything, but close enough. But it tells you that's the part number right there on the water pump. Alright, so let's see if I can get down there. Alright, see those two indexing pins? If you get it lined up, it should pretty much line up everywhere else. So now next to get the water pump on, and then we'll get the bolts in. Alright, I got one bolt in, just holding it. Everything else is good to go. I'm just going to clean all of these threads up real quick. I just dropped that wrench on my foot. Keep dropping stuff on my foot. I'm going to clean these threads up real quick, and that way they'll go in nice and smooth. Alright, so I got all 5 in, and you can see the gasket is on 2 studs, so it isn't out of place. So now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of slowly snug them down, and then I will, like I said, I'm going to get the torque specs for those bolts and the thermostat housing bolts as well. But I will do that after I finish changing the pulleys, because that way I can just torque everything at once. Alright, I guess that's the alarm. I gotta go check and see what's going on with my wife. Alright, so from the bottom I was able to reach these 4. So we can see the only one that I can't reach is that one that's on the top. It's the longest one out. So I suggest that the 2 that are the guide pin ones, those would be the 2 I would snug up first, because that keeps the pump aligned. If you tighten up the other ones, you might get it crooked, and then the guide pin can get bent and hung. So that's the way I did it. So this one and this one up here are the guide pin ones. These other 3, this one and that one, and the one on the top, I would just snug them down as tight as you can with your fingers, and then go back in and tighten them up once the 2 guide pin ones are done. So next we're going to get this idler pulley out of here, and then we will get the crank pulley off.